I think it's important to remember the context here. The Georgia legislation is built on a lie.
We've seen cases and hospitalizations since then continue to tick downward. So what do you make of that?
I'm not really quite sure. It could be they're doing things outdoors. You know, it's very difficult to just one-on-one compare that. We have a virus out there now, this variant that spreads really quite efficiently.
You don't ever shake anybody's hands. That's clear.
I think the president recognizes that this has been a long and difficult journey, and what he's asking people to do is to sacrifice a little bit longer.
Screw Jen Psaki. All right. So there is so much to talk about today, so much to mention. A lot of housekeeping, I call it, Alice, or in the hotel business, HSKP.
HSKP.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what DDN-SUP is?
No.
DDN-SUP, a double non-smoking superior.
Do they still have non-smoking and smoking rooms in most hotels?
Okay. They had smoking and non-smoking. Oh, I guess now it's all non-smoking. Okay, Alice. Obviously, they had no 13th floor. You know that about hotels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That's neither here nor there. So a couple things I want to talk about. We've got to go for the idiot Fauci is onto it, the normal stuff. He is a psychotic. No, I'm serious. He's a psychotic. He reminds me of a guy. Who does he remind me of? He reminds me of a guy who. He reminds me of a contest pig in radio. So in radio, they call people who sign up for every contest and, every little thing and come in to win tickets for whatever contest pigs. And some of them, never even pick up the tickets. They just want to win everything, and they sign up for everything. And a lot of promotions people, and I didn't name them. This is just something that's in radio, contest pigs. They're always listening for the trivia question at this time. They're online, whatever. And they're a pain in the ass for the promotions people because they're trying to do a little outreach here, but contest pigs swallow up all the
right,
all the ducats and this and that and so. But there's a kind of person who wins and just is addicted to it. It's the same kind of person who will go to functions, and I've seen this too, just for the food. And stay for the food and never leave. Mm-hmm. Functions, food. And that's what Fauci is. He's at this trough that he loves. And he enjoys it so much that he can't stop himself. Mm-hmm. And it's the love of his life. I actually was listening to audio today of him last year. And how giddy he was to be on TV last year. Now he's gotten better at it. And he's first name basis with everybody. He calls Joe Scarborough Joe. He calls Jake Tapper Chuck and right. Chuck Jake. But he thinks that it's the right. He uses the first names. He just wants to be in that crowd. He's a guy who just wants to be on TV, and he's not the only one. There's a lot of people out there who just want to be on TV, and you see them a lot of times doing hits. Julia, what's her name? Juliette Kayyem just wants to be on TV, and she'll sell you some horse bleep about the national defense, whatever, to get on TV, and she'll come up with a clever saying. But Fauci that's all he wants is to be on TV, and then he'll race home and he'll watch it. And I assume that somebody is DVRing it for him, or one of the grandkids is recording it somehow, and that's all. That's all he is. All this stuff that he says is secondary. It's ancillary to the point is the TV hit. It's not to spread it. That's why he comes unprepared. And that's why he'll take the suggestions of the moderators or the hosts a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So if he comes there to talk about, we're going to need you to just go by the COVID rules a little bit more and relax. And if they say to him, well, there's a study in Massachusetts just said that you can go from 6 feet to 3 feet. What do you think about that? Oh yeah. Whatever it takes for him to stay there and be able to eat the food in the green room. He will give you whatever it takes. I'm serious, House. This guy is a psychotic. I'm serious. I am a trained psychiatrist.
Maybe you shouldn't claim that on the record.
Does it matter? No, this is 2021. Anything effing goes. All truth is out the window.
You identify.
Exactly. I do. So so we'll talk about him. And that people love him is pathetic. People are looking for this.
Did you see the Gretchen Whitmer interview where she has a pillow with his face on it in her house behind her?
Yeah, well, those people are sick and just simply need a daddy figure. And it's this need for some kind of paternal force there. And he's gentle and he was nicer to them than their real dads, who were hard on them because they wanted them to succeed. And even though a lot of these people have succeeded now, they'll never forgive daddy for being mean about it. But Fauci doesn't yell. He just wants to eat from your green room and transact with you for a little FaceTime. And you pretend that he's somebody who knows what he's talking about, and the transaction's complete. It's remarkable. This guy is one thing I'll give Fauci credit for, he managed to be a key pillar of the Trump administration and then have a career afterwards. He is good.
True.
But you learn that from being in Washington, D.C. since the early 1970s. So, but there's some other things to talk about also. It's not all just news. We're going to get to the Fauci stuff, the psychotic. And you had mentioned something to me, and I think it's important. Okay. You had mentioned that you saw some friends of ours today. Mm-hmm. Friends of ours who I met in your church, which I guess it's our church.
Right.
But
I met them at my church.
I'm floating in space religiously.
But longer ago.
But we do go to the. Are we allowed to say what church?
Godparents. Yes.
We do. Well, we used to go to the Serbian Orthodox Church. Mm-hmm. And these Serbian folks who I've met are fantastic, wonderful. And you had said that you've run into some, and they were very concerned about where the world is going now,
right?
In what's happening, and I think that we've got some close friends from in town here, who have made have made big life decisions based on the insanity of the last year,
right?
And I seriously think that you've got people like Serbians, and it's not just Serbians, it's people who are second generation or first generation to this country who have had a direct relationship with communism. Right. The real thing. Mm-hmm. Not the cute stuff with the cute girl from Brooklyn telling us that the word surge means insurgent, pushing up her fake prescription glasses. Not that kind of communism. The real communism. Mm-hmm. Real oppression, deadly, suffocating communism.
Right.
And I think that they're sniffing something here that's dangerous. And it might seem that who cares about Dr. Seuss? Who cares about an all-star game? No, care about an all-star game. Care about the fact that a president has deemed the way the state makes its own laws is unacceptable, and then coerces strong, the nice, empathetic president, the one who cares about us,
the non-divisive
Uncle
one.
Joe. It's not the first Uncle Joe. And it says I really want MLB to do the right thing and move out. And then his administration comes in and says, and so MLB leaves Atlanta, bang, and then of course it's only going to hurt black people, but it's in the name of black people, so that's noble. So they leave. And then his administration comes in and says, no, he didn't tell anybody to do anything. That decision was MLB's. It was an autonomous decision. They're an autonomous. That is dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
That is the entire movement.
And the fact that the whole thing is based on absolute just untruths.
Right. Which is what you do. This is... it's just arson so that you can put out the fire. This is to use... to borrow from the left's, comparison shop, it's setting the Reichstag fire. It's doing whatever. Oh, you know what? We had to, since it's a state of emergency now, we had to go a little bit above and beyond than we used to because there was a conflagration over here. Oh, there's another one over there. Oh, there's another one over here. I'm sorry about that. Looks like we'll have to step in again to help out here. And it's not. It ain't okay. And it's not okay that you've got so many Americans saying, oh, okay, Dr. Fauci says go inside. Joe's nice. Isn't that? Dr. Jill, she looks beautiful coming off the plane. It's so nice that we finally have a beautiful first lady. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is the idea that intelligent people have holstered their common sense and given all in. And I understand people who say, well, the Trump people, the different conversation, different dynamic. There are some around the edges similarities. different dynamic. The Trump people were about you being left the hell alone.
Right.
They weren't about incursions into your life.
Mm-hmm.
This is incursions into your life, and it's every part of your life. And then when you question it, of course, the gaslighting comes in. Also, perfect Russian as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, didn't somebody else used to be in that picture next to Stalin? There was never anybody else in the picture. It was always, you're always acting paranoid like that. I'm sure there was somebody else in that picture. No, there wasn't. So when you say, are we sure that a 24-year-old straight man should be allowed, because he's wearing a dress, should be allowed to be in the same bathroom stall with my little daughter who's, very vulnerable in that position? Oh, men don't touch girls. Come on, really? There's no data to support any of that. You're really being piggish. Trans rights are human rights. And when you say, yeah, but I'm not talking about trans, I'm just talking about if somebody goes in and pretends, let's say, rape is a crime of opportunity and very few are reported, and a lot of women are sexually assaulted when they're vulnerable, like places like bathroom stalls, dressing rooms, jogging alone, and then suddenly, no, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Women aren't vulnerable. Okay, trans rights are human rights. Go. So it is a sick and toxic encroachment that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame our friends who are from Eastern Europe, who have seen the bleep before, for saying, this seems a little familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important that the people can check in, and so we can all come here every day and check in and, take the gas masks off and say, okay, what did everybody else see? Are we all right? Yes, we're all right. Did everybody else notice that BS? Yes, we all noticed that BS. This person's crazy. Yes, this person's crazy. We're not to be pushed into believing things that we don't want to be pushed into believing. We're not going to come home and suddenly say, you know what? Is whiteness terrible? Never take any of their horse bleep as truth, law, fact, or these are all desperate people who are damaged inside, and this stuff is nonsense that they're pushing on us. Nonsense. You just have to look at 2 years ago, well, before Trump, 4 years ago, all of that we would have laughed at. A year ago, even with the COVID stuff, a year ago, if you said that we were still not in school a year from now, you would say, you're kidding. No, that's not. There is no way. But it was incrementally pushed on us. Incrementally.
Right. And I think a lot more people, I've heard people say this, at some point this spring, saying we never would have sent our kids back to the public schools if we thought they really wouldn't have been reopened by now fully normally. We had faith in the schools that they were going to go back somewhat in the fall and then slowly reopen, and then we'd be back to normal. But in a lot of cases it hasn't happened, or they shut down more, or they are still on a hybrid model in a lot of places. It's really the incremental approach is especially bad because it keeps people thinking that if they just hold on, just another 2 weeks, just another couple months, just till Easter, just till this, just till we get the vaccine. Oh, wait, just till everyone's vaccinated. Oh, wait, just till the kids are vaccinated. Oh, maybe next fall. Fauci's saying now that maybe we'll get to not wear masks in late fall or early winter. Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, no. I mean, sorry. There is no guarantee.
Right, that because schools will be fully open next fall.
Oh, school districts across the country are already saying that. Are already saying, we're not sure we're going to be fully back next fall. We're still going to have masking. We're still going to have social distancing. And, I mean, there's no guarantee, too. I've also heard parents say that they don't have faith that schools won't, now that this precedent has been set, do this for an outbreak of the flu or anything else.
At this point, you're losing. I think we're losing around between 300 and 500 people a day in this country now to the coronavirus. As soon as that number crosses the threshold with the flu, then it would be irresponsible to not use similar measures.
Right.
according to Fauci.
I've certainly heard lots of people say that we should be wearing masks every winter for the flu.
Right.
Certainly teachers, I've seen teachers, especially liberal college professors, but I've seen them say that they want all their students to be mandated to wear masks in class because they're sick of getting sick from their students. Well, maybe pick a different job. You picked a job where you have to be in a room with a bunch of 20-year-olds. Sorry, like it comes with the territory. I don't know what to tell people because if they want to go on wearing masks, then I'm not going to stand in their way. But I would very much, I think that we need to. So let's say, everybody, Joe Biden is now on the Trump vaccine plan, which is that everybody will be eligible to get one by April 19th. Trump told us last September, to much scorn and derision, that everyone would be able to get a vaccine by April. So that was laughed
Wait,
out.
is this the Psaki? Is this the special breaking news today?
That Biden is opening up.
Yes.
Has demanded the states, which they are already doing. He's demanded that the states do what they had already started to do and make the vaccines available to everybody by April 19th.
Announcement that the president will announce officially later this afternoon that we've reached 150 million shots in arms since entering government, and that by April 19th, all adult Americans will be eligible to get the vaccine. That doesn't mean they will get it that day. It means they can join the line that day if they have not already done that beforehand.
Okay.
So by the way, this was contrived since the beginning that he was always going to roll back, all of these benchmarks that he had because he's overachieving. So it's supposed to be wipe the slate clean. There was no progress. I was left empty-handed when I got here, and now not only am I assertively setting goals, Biden came in and said, but he's now beating deadlines, overachieving, distributing more than we ever thought he could be. Incredible. Planes are flying, trucks are moving. Just the vaccine is getting in arms. It is all over, and this is all scripted to make us think that this is all Biden doing this. I talked to Callahan today, Jerry Callahan.
It's almost
Callahan
like there was a plan
today about this in the morning. This reminds me of. Do you know what the hidden ball trick is in baseball?
No.
So baseball fans will know this. The hidden ball trick is this. So do you know any rules of baseball? Well, let me ask
Some. You hit the ball and then you run around the bases.
Yeah. So in baseball, sometimes the pitcher and the first baseman will have a meeting.
Okay.
And they'll talk. Not in a conference room during the game.
Okay.
They'll talk. The first baseman will go out and talk to the pitcher, and they'll talk about stuff, whatever. And the first baseman hands a pitcher the ball. Pitcher then gets ready to pitch again.
Oh, but he actually...
But the first baseman actually is holding the ball.
Oh.
He pretends he doesn't have it. He walks over to first base. So then when the runner goes to lead, he can just tag him. It's the hidden ball trick. When it works, it's wonderful.
Okay.
Sometimes everybody sees that the hidden ball trick is going on.
Right.
And so they see that the first baseman has the ball. And even the announcers are like, oh, okay, he's still got the... Okay, come on, let's go. And sometimes people laugh, and they're like, okay, you can let... We all saw it. It didn't work, okay? Looked like a donkey. To me, this is the hidden ball trick. It's like, we all saw you trying to hide the ball and pretend that you did all this stuff for COVID. We all saw the joke the ruse being developed. We saw you pretend to hand it to the pitcher. None of us bought it, Biden. And now you're doing oh, wow, I've got the ball. Yeah, we saw. The runner knows. He's not leading. Like,
Stop touching the camera,
yeah, stop
please.
touching the camera. Guys, this is important. What can I get you for you? What can I get for you?
When will the podcast be done?
The podcast will be done in, it is...
In about 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes. What? And then what's that? Oh, you want ice cream?
No.
What did you want?
I was just going to ask you when the podcast will be done.
Okay. But what do you need after the podcast? You must have ulterior motives. There's no way there's something... What are you up to?
Wow. That's crazy.
What?
Nathan.
Oh! Okay, guys. Okay.
Thank you.
So it's 30 minutes.
Everybody.
So do whatever illicit activity you need to for 30 minutes, or work on your pitch to extort me for something in 30 minutes when I get down there. So that's what that is. And also, by the way, you've probably seen it now since the cameras are jarred, that we've got some very expensive new set pieces these illuminations behind me, are they able to see these also?
Yes, they are.
These illuminations behind me are what's called Himalayan salt rocks. Mm-hmm. And these
They're
are
on a string.
Alice. These are very high-end set illuminations. And Alice also has some illuminations behind her. I saw this guy who has a podcast, and I like the idea of illuminations. Himalayan salt rock, very high-end, Alice. Much north of $7 for this.
Wow.
At a very exclusive place where you have to be buzzed in. I call Hobby Lobby up the street. So I don't want people to think that we're gaslighting them when suddenly there's new lights appearing and we're mentioning it like, oh, they've always been here. No. This is new money. This is money we came into since the Substack has made over $11.
Tom went hog wild with his Substack earnings. Thank you very much, by the way, people who have signed up for Tom's Substack. The posts are still all free there right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's great.
So,
I love the writing it, and I love enjoying you reading it.
Yeah, but the end of the week there's going to be, I think, our first subscriber exclusive at the end of the week. So we'll check that out.
So once again, to wrap up this overly long introduction, I like the idea of people coming here to check in with each other and know that it's not just us. I felt bad today because some of our friends, we live up in northern Massachusetts where there are space between us and the next house, and we've got room, and there are some like Americans here who like their country in this town. Some, but we moved from down near Boston where woke progressivism has just swept through, and it's kind of dark for a lot of people because it's a bullying and elitism, and it brings out the worst in these people in these nice towns. Not everybody. Some people remain very decent. Some people don't, and it just sucks for families trying to make it. But they see what was in the brochure for America as having changed once they got into these towns, and if you're sandwiched between, Cambridge, Lexington, Winchester, and Boston, then you are in occupied territory.
Yeah,
unfortunately for you.
Tough going out there, especially with all this COVID stuff. It's really bad. So, yes, come visit us, and we'll tell you you're not crazy, and it's actually everybody else that has the problem.
Oh, I got a problem with who was the guy who said that he almost quit after the Cobra.
Oh,
what was
Tim.
Tim Cobra what?
It's the Gen X needed a life preserver episode.
Yes, that's right. Do you have
Yes.
French fries are drowning. Woe betide you, Tim. That was a prolific and poignant. What's the other word? Profound. A profound piece of content on my behalf.
Yeah, he says he only still listens because I came on, and
Woe betide you.
I bring balance to the force.
You got a life vest. Taken away from you got a life. That was a touchstone moment. All right. So let's go to the tiny psycho now. Was on MSNBC in two different shows today. I assume he'll run the gamut and go wall to wall on MSNBC today. Usually does 3 or 4 hits on CNN, maybe one on Fox, and then he'll hit the networks as well. So he's got about 72, 73 a day. He does all in all. So here we go. This is MSNBC. I think this is Willie Geist asked him. This is Geist going off. I don't know why they believe this idiot when they ask the psycho questions. I don't get it. She says, okay, so how come when everybody was supposed to be dead in Texas now because they're living like free people aren't dying?
You mentioned Texas and that full ballpark in Arlington yesterday. There was a lot of concern last month when Texas effectively opened up, dropped all those restrictions and said it's back to life. And if you go to Texas, as you know, it looks like 2019. The restaurants and the bars are full and open. The ballparks are full. And yet we've seen cases and hospitalizations since then continue to tick downward. So what do you make of that as all of us look around and sort of try to consider how safe it is to get back to normal life?
Yeah, it can be confusing because you may see a lag and a delay because
he's still got like a piece of the green room brie in his mouth.
Often you have to wait a few weeks before you see the effect of what you're doing right now. There are a lot.
It's been a few weeks,
right,
Doctor.
But I love this. You have to wait a few weeks before you see the effects of what you're doing right now. That is horsebleed. The attempt to correlate. Oh, it's going to be because of this. Just give it a little while. Oh, I need a little more time for it to be because of this. It just spiked a little. See, it was because of that. There you go. Can I get more Ritz crackers, please, for the brie? I'm out here. Can you have Bourgeon next time I come here tomorrow at 7?
A lot of things that go into that. I mean, when you say that they've had a lot of activity on the outside, like ball games, I'm not really quite sure. It could be they're doing things outdoors. You know, it's
Wheelie Geist right there. Hold on, everybody. I need you to call security and get the psychotic out of the studio immediately. Could be that they're outside. Oh!
So outside is fine then.
Right. Oh, so this whole time, what else didn't we know? Anything else we should know? Could be that they're outside. I mean, we never really factored in for that. Nobody in Massachusetts has done a study yet. We're just waiting on it. So, mostly, anybody touching these Skittles? No? Okay. This guy is incredible. Incredible. Could be outside. Could be are they tall? Height might have something to do with it. I don't know. Is it exposure to sun? Could it be astrological sign? Could be. Does somebody have a tattoo? It could be a factor. We don't really know. It could be like people who are Beatles fans versus Wings fans. Could be a factor. It's our job my job to just be here on the TV. The thinking about what goes into this, and could be so many things, really. I didn't choose to get into that field of figuring it out.
very difficult to just one-on-one compare that. You just have to see in the long range. I hope.
It's very difficult to compare that to one-on-one, to have the science and the facts and figures. Imagine that. I mean, that kind of person who would have that kind of information would get paid $400,000 a year.
They continue to tick down. If they do, that would be great. But there's always the concern when you...
But, doctor, they won't tick down because there were all the gatherings, remember? They're not going to tick down. You said they won't tick down. That there has to be. I don't know when it'll be, but soon we'll see the ramifications for what you did today. Well, when's that happening?
Pull back on methods, particularly things like indoor dining and bars that are crowded. You can see a delay and then all of a sudden tick right back up. We've been fooled before by situations where...
Yeah, you have. You have. Since the very beginning. Especially the time when you told us we had 2 weeks. And then it was looking like we might be back by Easter. We'll see.
People begin to open up, nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, several weeks later, things start exploding on you. So we got to be careful we don't prematurely judge that.
Right, things start exploding on you. Nothing happens. Things start exploding on you. So in other words, we can't really prove a cause and effect categorically. We can't. So, ergo, and I don't use that seriously generally, ergo, we can't prove the cause and effect. Ergo, everybody has to shelter down. You have to do something that hurts, we've decided.
Yeah, mask mandate.
Do yourself a favor. Try to get yourself access to a green room. There's all sorts of good stuff in here. All sorts of flavored seltzers and cheeses and freaking the macadamia nuts. These cost $11 usually in a store. This is good. Jesus. But then he was on with Joe Scarborough. Joe, he calls him. Going right back to the to some of his favorites.
But the other wild card in this, Joe, is that even though everybody has COVID-19 fatigue and wants to get back to normal.
This is like 30 Rock, where I think that he's moved in to the green room. He literally receives mail there.
Normality, you see the pictures of the Texas Rangers Stadium essentially crowded. We don't want to declare victory prematurely because we have a virus out there now, this variant that spreads really quite efficiently. And if you pull back on masking and avoiding congregate setting, you're really taking a pretty big risk. If we can just hang in there a bit longer because...
What big risk? What big risk? We're about to have a glut of doses in this country. Mm-hmm. Sitting around. One of the reasons we say Biden do the hidden ball trick is because pretty soon there's going to be many, many, many millions more doses than people to give them to. Right. Sitting around. This is ending. The credits are coming up on this thing. There's too many doses out there. Even the people who don't freaking want them anymore are getting them.
Mm-hmm. I think I was looking at the Massachusetts numbers. We're edging up like to about 40% of the population has gotten at least one shot now. And there's significant protection. It's starting to look like there's pretty significant protection even from one shot. They didn't test that dosage, but it's looking like it's probably around 70% protection just from getting one. So if we have 40% of the population that has some immunity, at least from that, and is going to have more in the next few weeks, and then you have it's roughly like a third of people have actually had COVID. So that's like out of the remaining 60%, that's a third of them. So that's like another 20%. We're around like 60% of people in Massachusetts probably who have some kind of immunity to COVID, give or take. That's going to have a big impact, and those numbers are going to continue to creep up over time because more and more people are getting first doses now at this point. And like you said, we're about to, so if we're at about 40% of people have had a first dose, and certainly most of the high risk people have at this point, we're going to start to hit some of those more vaccine hesitant people at some point here. Part of the reason I think that they're expanding so rapidly to more groups faster than they originally planned is not to prove Trump right, that people would qualify by April, but for the fact that they don't want the numbers to slow down because people don't want them. So they're expanding the groups to ensure that they can keep doing millions a day, because they've already had this problem in some red states. Some red states expanded access earlier because, out of the high risk populations or the over 55 populations, they had already hit the ceiling of people who were interested in taking it.
Right.
So, so then it'll roll out to everybody. And, we're looking at the next few weeks. Everybody over 16 is going to have access. People who didn't already fall into one of the really broad categories that existed before. In Massachusetts, it's like all kinds of workers, retail workers, grocery workers, warehouse workers like Alice Shattuck, and and obviously medical professionals, of which there are a lot in the state, teachers. Everybody's getting it now, so then you're going to expand out into all the over 16s, and you have there's only so many people left. There probably is a good 30% of people that aren't interested in taking it right now. So we're going to, and the pace of vaccination keeps accelerating here. So we're going to run out of people who want it pretty soon. So, and at that point,
there's some stragglers who don't really care. We'll probably get it anyway.
Yeah.
Once there's no line and no computer glitches and all this other stuff.
Right. So, but then at that point, so we're talking about April 19th, everybody's going to qualify. We're probably a max 3-4 weeks out from everybody actually being able to get an appointment who desperately wants one and is high risk, right? And then we're probably another 2-3 weeks away from those people having serious protection against the virus. So, I would say we're 2 months out from this being done.
Right, and
because at that point,
the problem is, of course,
at that point, everybody who wants to be immune can be immune. So then, because the vaccine, I know it's not 100% effective against getting any symptoms, but it's 100% effective against serious illness and death, pretty much. It reduces your odds to 1 in a million of dying of COVID. So it's really very effective for the part that you care about, which is not dying.
But certain green room addicts are going to do whatever they can to
continue
draw
getting
a
invited
picture.
on TV.
Exactly, and that's why the new variant, you're going to need me at least through September. What can I say?
Every day that we hang in there and not just give in to getting away from all restrictions, every day we do better and better.
Shut up. You don't know that every day. You don't know that.
Right,
every day that we don't do the stuff that Texas is doing, we'll be a lot better. Well, but the Texas stuff isn't doing anything. Well, maybe because they were outside, or I don't know. It's hard to tell. Well, then what are you doing here other than eating everything? Jeez, there's some Fauci from that. This is trending. Fauci talking about no more handshakes, and so I listened to just a little piece of this NPR piece last April, of Fauci's talking about the handshakes. But the NPR piece as well tells you how in the media was for this. They were ready to do some role-playing with this guy. Psychotics.
The handshake is dead. Well, that's according to Dr. Anthony Fauci. Last week he said he wants two things to continue, even after the pandemic. One is hand washing.
The other one is you don't ever shake anybody's hands. That's clear.
Ever.
Psycho.
Thankfully, there is still the oh-so-popular elbow bump, right?
Not so fast, says Dr. Andrew Maley. He's a professor of microbiology and immunology at the University of Wisconsin.
If you're close enough to elbow bump.
These are all they're giving crack to these green room addicts. That's what this is right here. We found another. Oh, come on. Yes, I'll come on. I'll tell you the elbow bump is no good too. All of these fiends, like these little zombies, let us into the green room. We'll say whatever you need. We'll do fist bump. We'll do elbows for you. We'll do cloistering. We'll do nobody's allowed to serve stuff on Thanksgiving. We'll do social distancing. We'll do put police tape around the playgrounds. We'll do whatever you want.
You're close enough to transmit.
So where does that leave us? We've been pumping hands our whole lives. Some historians say ancient Greeks introduced the handshake. Others point to medieval times. Either way, from its earliest days, the handshake was a symbol of peace.
When two people would meet each other for the first time, they would shake hands to make sure they weren't concealing any weapons.
Brooklyn writer and teacher Alana Rabinowitz admits this peaceful gesture seems more like a suspicious gesture to her.
Which is kind of ironic, right?
Okay, NPR. Well, a great way to spend taxpayer dollars. All right, I do want to say that Jen Psaki... No. Okay, DeSantis we talked yesterday a little bit about the... Oh, no, let me just cap this off with something else that's going to piss you off. Here's Biden saying what Fauci says.
Baseball stadium in Texas yesterday. Basically, there are Americans across the country who are doing exactly what the president is telling them not to do. Is the message, are Americans not hearing this, or are they hearing it?
This is a member of the press. Why don't Americans understand? Why are they screwing this up and not doing what Dr. Fauci and Joe Biden want them to do? Tell us, Jen.
And ignoring it.
I think the president recognizes that this has been a long and difficult journey for the American public. The country has been shut down in one form or another for more than a year now, and people have missed birthday parties, weddings, baseball games, going out to restaurants. It is difficult, it is hard, and what he's asking people to do is to sacrifice a little bit longer. And he
sacrifice a little bit longer. It's funny who has to sacrifice and who doesn't. And if you live and work in the Beltway, you do not. If you're a government worker, that is. I'm sorry. So I want to get now to DeSantis. We played the stuff yesterday with 60 Minutes, completely trying to blow up DeSantis, saying that he used pay to play to take care of his friends for vaccinations, and they edited a video interview down 2 minutes out of it, essentially, to try to show that DeSantis was a jerk and couldn't explain himself for the pay-to-play thing.
The criticism is that it's pay-to-play,
it's
Governor.
Wrong.
So, anyway, they, as we said yesterday, they've released the entire video, other news organizations, and the DeSantis administration in Florida, and they blew up 60 Minutes, and they look terrible. DeSantis was asked about 60 Minutes' attempt today.
60 Minutes. I mean, what was put out of that interview that you want?
They cut out everything that showed that their narrative was a piece of horse manure. And it shows you how dishonest. These are smear merchants. That's why nobody trusts corporate media. They are a disaster in what they're doing. They knew what they were doing was a lie. I knew what they were doing was a lie. Everybody here knows what they were doing is a lie. They know that we know they're lying, and yet they continue to lie. And they lied, and they lied, and they lied. We offered them the information, and they declined to interview the key people because they didn't want to let go of the narrative. Well, guess what? There's going to be consequences for that. I know corporate media thinks that they can just run over people. You ain't running over this governor. I'm punching back, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Hear, hear.
Until these smear merchants are held accountable. The fact of the matter is, Florida has vaccinated 3.5 million senior citizens. We were the first state in the country to put seniors first. The results of our efforts are that seniors are much less likely to be hospitalized for COVID than they were 6 months ago. So our efforts have worked, and particularly in Palm Beach County, we've done over 275,000 seniors just in that one county. That's 75% of all the seniors there. It's been a team effort. We've worked in a lot of different ways, but you can't lie. And you should have not run it. They were warned, and yet they plowed ahead anyways. And so we're going to be doing even more to expose more lies, because there's lies built upon lies on all this. You know, for example, they're attacking Publix. You know it's New York corporate media. When you come to Florida and attack Publix, I mean, like, people like, I mean, like, maybe they like their dogs better than Publix, but not much. I mean, it's one of the most popular brands in the state. It would have been
Publix fired back today on Twitter, by the way.
Practice to cut Publix out of a system.
At the media and the administration.
And I know we were able to expand retail sites in Bay. People were very happy. But what they're saying is a total crock that somehow only Publix was getting it. It is nonsense. And we told them it was that, and they cut it out. They spliced it because they can't handle the truth. And they know if they would have put out everything, they wouldn't have had a story. And so they went for the smear. They've been caught red-handed. Now, see, all these corporate media people, they all scratch each other's back. So, you know, a lot of them just are pretending it didn't happen. They're not going to really police their own. But we're going to have a lot of people that are going to police their own. But the message is for people out there, unless you're a partisan leftist, do not trust corporate media. You can't trust them. They're not trustworthy. They will lie. They will smear. And then they just move on to the next target and think that they're going to be able to get away with it. You ain't getting away with it here, okay? You come down to our state and you try to smear people, you know, we're going to bite back and we're going to hold you accountable. So this is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
That is the most impressive 3 minutes by a Republican in the last couple of years. It's certainly a state-level Republican.
Yeah.
Damn right. He was right, exactly. But remember what he said. Corporate media, don't trust them. They are going to pretend this never happened. They've got each other's back. Just a few hours ago, in the White House briefing room, the Bloomberg reporter, Jordan Fabian, asks Jen Psaki this.
Then just one more on vaccines. So there's a report over the weekend that Governor DeSantis in Florida had been dealing with some sort of improper dealings with the supermarket chain Publix as far as distributing the vaccine. So did those reports give the White House any pause?
This effing dude is asking this from Bloomberg today. He saw everything we saw.
Right.
He saw the CBS 60-minute story get blown up, the reporter get blown up. He knows the truth. He's skating right past it and asking her to solidify his hit piece that he's doing.
In working with Governor DeSantis in the vaccine program.
Well, first let me say that for those who weren't following this in Florida, one of the concerns we've had is
So now the White House administration's chance, because you've had democratically elected Democrats in Florida criticize CBS and defend the vaccination program. So now's her chance to say something truthful, because she's truthful. Truth over lies.
Watch the data is that 17% of Florida's population is African American, but less than 7% of vaccinations have gone to African Americans.
Racism.
Notably.
Racism. All-Star Game, racism. George Floyd, racism. That's this administration. That's the spokesperson right here. Having a chance to do something good goes right into cynical, divisive, kerosene, bringing up the temperature, racism.
In the state. That's one of the reasons that we opened 4 FEMA sites in Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, and Orlando. And these sites disproportionately serve communities of color. So we've been
These sites disproportionately serve communities of color. The few of these have been opened around the country. These FEMA rushes in with mobile sites, and they beg, implore, and try in the name of equity to get people of color and minorities and the marginalized community to take the vaccine. Right. It's an initiative that the administration is doing because DeSantis is busy vaccinating people who will die from the disease.
Right.
Not looking at color and saying grab as many young minority people as we can and vaccinate them, even whether or not they want it, and waste time. That way, since you're prioritizing them, old people and people who are vulnerable are dying while you're wasting time. Right. Old white people, old black people, old brown people, old every people are dying because of this stupid thing you're having. Also, FEMA has several thousand people working in several states with this. They're down a few thousand people right now because there's a non-crisis happening in Texas where Joe Biden has opened up, camps for all of the people that he invited to come into the country.
Closely watching.
Many of whom have COVID. Some of whom were just let right in.
This data and these statistics as we would in any state across the country, and we took these specific actions for that purpose. We are not going to hurt the people of Florida just because of the steps or actions of leadership, and we will continue to take actions to ensure that the vaccine is equitably distributed.
This is a dark, pernicious administration. I'm sorry about that, and I didn't think it would go this way. I figured he'd be stupid and pushed around, but guys like Ron Klain would But this administration is divisive. They're out to cause trouble. They're much more divisive, pernicious, dangerous, and damaging than a previous administration. Sure, the guy with the red hat may have been an a-hole, but he was not a force for harm.
Right.
Like this is. This is not the president winks and nods and racist. This is literally using the office to illustrate and create divisions among races and incite racial tensions wherever you can. This is bad news. Bad news. I don't know when Kamala assumes the presidency, and I don't know what her agenda will be. But right now, this is bad news. Go ahead, Elsa.
I just think it's notable that CBS, in order to cover the embarrassment that was the piece of so-called reporting that they tried to do over the weekend, has taken the exact same tack and is saying the same line that the White House is saying now. So the statement they put out finally, after hiding with their tail between their legs the whole weekend, is when Florida state data revealed people of color were vaccinated at a much lower rate than their wealthier neighbors, 60 Minutes reported the facts surrounding the vaccine's rollout, which is controlled by the governor. We requested and conducted interviews with dozens of sources and authorities involved. We requested an interview with Governor Ron DeSantis. He declined. We spoke to State Emergency Management Director Jared Moskowitz twice, but he declined to be interviewed on camera for our story until well after our deadline. The idea that we ignored their perspective is untrue. Counter to his statement yesterday, we also spoke on the record with Palm Beach County Mayor David Kerner. For over 50 years, the facts reported by 60 Minutes have often stirred debate and prompted strong reactions. Our story Sunday night speaks for itself. So it's now being reframed as Ron DeSantis was purposely avoiding giving the vaccine to black people. That's what the story was about now.
That was always the story. They gave it to his rich white friends and said, screw black people. That was always the story. That was never the case, of course. And he blew that wide open with that presser. But CNN but 60 Minutes had this story in the can already, mostly. And they said, no, we're not going to. We came here 2 months ago to write a story about this guy doing pay for play and using racist, strategies to distribute the vaccine. And we're not going to ruin that now. So cut his response so that it sounds like he's just being a jerk to you. Cut out all the substance because that will flatten our story.
Right. And, he had a specific strategy. You can agree or disagree with the strategy if you think it's better to, vaccinate people of color who are at lower risk first, because I'm not sure that it's clear. I know that, of course, that because we've heard it 1,000 times that more people of color are dying from the virus, but it's not clear to me that they're dying more from the virus if you control for pre-existing conditions that put you at risk for the virus, right? So if you allow people who are more at risk to get it first, then that should cover a lot of the inequity, right? You would think.
Of course.
But the truth is that black people are not as interested in getting the vaccine because, as we've been told, the Tuskegee experiments and everything, and they have less trust of organized medicine and everything, and it is what it is.
And it's not unfounded,
right? No, it's
yeah.
But I think that it helps everybody to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And it certainly helps the people who are mostly dying, which is elderly people, to get them vaccinated as quickly as possible. But reaching herd immunity helps everyone, whether they want to get vaccinated themselves or not. So, at some point you just need to get the vaccines into as most people as possible. So he has his strategy and they have their strategy. Baker focused on this early on. And we saw what the results were. We were ranked like 47th in the country for vaccine distribution when equity was our primary goal, and then Baker shaped up. So now we're not.
So for 1 month, Alice, nay, 2 months.
Okay.
I have had a song in my head, and I couldn't figure it out. Da-da-da-da-da. You said it all before. You do it all again. Now you gone away. Da-da-da-da-da. Now, I know that you know this because was it during my my tripping, my...
I think it might have been.
So it actually came to me. But this has been bothering me. I've been trying to remember the song. I knew it was from the disco era. I've been da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. So I called. This is not related to what we were talking about. This is an aside. This is new.
Okay.
So I Sunday called 74 people from my life.
And saying to them, just as you did to our podcast
yes,
listeners.
I called John, I called Mastro, I called Danny, I called everybody. It's interesting that to a person other than John, nobody answered. They all said, "What's up?" Nobody wants to talk. I'm not going to take it personally. Who would want to talk to me? But anyway, so
did you explain to them that you needed to sing them a song?
I was surprised John did. Yeah, and so it goes like this: da 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 da. You do it all again. You say you left me here to go. You did it. I'm like, damn, and nobody got it because when you sing a song, you feel it and you hear it like it's supposed to be when you're singing to somebody. But they only hear me going. So this freaking thing has been avoiding me forever and ever and ever. I can't for 2 months. And I'm like da 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 da. And so it's only happened once before, like 24 years ago. You remember that? Who's the opera singers? Sarah and Andre, whatever.
I don't know.
La na 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 na. Time to say goodbye. You don't know that? It was the only opera song that was a huge hit 22 years ago. It's Sarah Brightman and Andrea Bocelli.
Okay.
You don't remember that? You're in trouble. That is not acceptable.
Years ago, I was 12.
That is not acceptable, Alice. That is not acceptable. We weren't married back then. Just dating. That's also not true. All right, listen. All right, so put that aside.
Okay.
Anyway, if you know the song, then put it in your head. Da 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 da. Because anyway, I'll get back to it. We're moving to the next. This is the last subject of the podcast. Then I have to go be extorted from my son. Okay, so Peter Ducey asked about the All-Star game. Remember, Joe Biden took the All-Star game, which he did. Took the All-Star game out of Atlanta, where there's 53% black people and 20,000 hospitality workers, and he decided to move it now to Colorado, where there 52% black population in Denver, Colorado, Alice?
No, Denver, Colorado has a 10% black population.
So 10 is a lot less than 52.
Some might say so, yes.
Okay, so that's great. So he's screwed the black and marginalized populations of Atlanta, where you might want to keep after the racial reckoning we're having. It seems to me you might want to keep the All-Star game literally down the street from Martin Luther King's house. Seems like it would make sense, but no, it's going to be in Colorado. So instead of visiting Martin Luther King's house, people who go to the All-Star game can now visit NORAD or the Air Force Academy, which is just the same. Okay, so Peter Ducey asked Jen Psaki about the All-Star game.
Is the White House concerned that Major League Baseball is moving their All-Star game to Colorado, where voting regulations are very similar to Georgia?
Well, let me just refute the first point you made. First, let me say On Colorado, Colorado allows you to register on Election Day. Colorado has voting by mail, where they send to 100% of people in the state who are eligible applications to vote by mail. 94% of people in Colorado voted by mail in the 2020 election. And they also allow for a range of materials to provide, even if they vote on Election Day, for the limited number of people who vote on Election Day. I think it's important to remember the context here. The Georgia legislation is built on a lie. It's
important to remember here, the Georgia legislation is built on a lie. Built on a lie.
There was no widespread fraud in the 2020 election. Georgia's top Republican election officials have acknowledged.
Built on a lie. So in other words, the federal government will intercede to harass states using industries, using institutions, using corporations, using whatever it needs to. They will coerce outside forces to harass and punish states that Joe Biden feels are passing legislation that's built on a lie.
Right. Even if the legislation, in fact, does things that they think are good, like expand access to the vote, things that Stacey Abrams asked for, like the move away from signature matching as a method of mail-in ballot verification, even if, it expands the number of days that people can vote early, even if it changes the number of mail-in ballot drop boxes that are available from 0 in 2019 to more than 0 in 2022, even if it does all those things, it was built on a lie. They know what those Georgia legislators were thinking when they passed it. They were thinking about Donald Trump's lie that there was election fraud. So because they were thinking about a lie that Donald Trump told when they passed a law that does stuff that actually makes it easier to vote in Georgia, then we can't have that, and all the people in the state, even the ones who disagree with the law, all have to be punished.
Right. And it's disgusting.
Well, and then, the president have voiced his support for MLB making a decision about the All-Star game in Georgia. I'm wondering, when can we expect a final determination from the president about the United States participating in the Beijing Olympics, given that he said the Chinese president doesn't have a democratic bone in his body?
Well, I think the U.S. Olympic Committee would play a big role in
on Major League Baseball here in the United States.
He actually didn't. I don't know if you heard the question that happened a few minutes ago, where we addressed this, and I answered the question. So, and I give a little more context, but maybe you weren't paying attention to that part.
She is so transparent. Thank you, Jen. It's good to have. Maybe you weren't paying attention. It's good to have somebody back who won't attack the press anymore. And it's completely, transparent. Ella Shattuck?
I just have one small correction from yesterday's show, which is we discussed the name of British actress Thandiwe Newton. And there's a small correction where she had given this whole interview about how she was reclaiming her heritage and her name and this whole thing. This was all in an interview in British Vogue, where it says they named her Thandiwe, meaning beloved in Zulu. She grew up to be one of the most successful Black British actresses of her time. So Thandiwe has a correction. Last night, she wrote, "Sincerest apologies from me for the error in British Vogue. My name Thandiwe is Zulu, but my mother's tribe is Shona. That's what happens when you've been separated from your identity for so long that you forget who you are. Zimbabwean lives matter."
First of all, she's not allowed to say Zimbabwean lives matter. That is...
She's a Zimbabwean princess, I hope you know.
Well, yeah, but that's not... No, Black Lives Matter is about the American experience having been vicious and still is, and we only realized it last summer. So that's what that is. It's about us being bad.
It's not for British Zimbabwean princesses?
That's their own thing. No, we are bad. That's what that is. So, sorry, Thandiwe. I'm going to miss all her valuable work.
She's been separated from her identity for so long that she got her mother's tribe wrong.
You know what? She can still, be coupled with her identity as a jerk, like most people are.
Okay.
We've taken a perfectly good thing, Alice. You know what we've done with it? Mm-hmm. You know what we've done with it, Alice?
What have we done with it?
We've blown it all sky high. That's right. We've blown it all sky high. It came to me Sunday. That's the song. That's what we needed. Da 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 da. My Himalayan salt lights.
I see them.
I hum this to people.
I gave you all I have to give. Why did it have to stop? You've blown it all sky high by telling me a lie without a reason why. You've blown it all sky high.
This is so way before your time, but this is like so. If you're around my age, I'm 48. Your mother, this was playing like in Caldor or Bradley's in the late 1970s, while your mother was dragging you around the store, and you could only play it in the clothes racks. But we remembered it. We remembered it. That is hugely important, Alice. That is important. Thankfully. What a burden off. That was it, everybody. I will have that. That is Sky High by the band. If you get this band out, no, you know it already. The band Jigsaw, who actually were from Australia, and in England had to go by British Jigsaw because Jigsaw was already taken. There you go.
This is the Burn Barrel Podcast. You can find us on Twitter for more important information like this from Tom. That is at Burn Barrel Pod. We're also on Parler and Gab at Burn Barrel Podcast and at facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast. You can send us an email if you want to. That's burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. And you can check out our YouTube channel as well. That's Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel on YouTube.
C'est la vie.